The problem with the turkey decline is production related, not harvest related. We shoot less than 1% of the hens. We're losing 40% every year, but they're not getting shot. They're getting eaten by something. When you boil it all down, what we can actually influence is habitat quality, nesting, and brood rearing.
Throughout its lifetime, the turkey is dependent on a mix of open fields, woodlands, and edge areas that provide a mix of cover and access to food. As an adult, the turkey needs mature trees for daytime resting, escape cover, and nighttime roosting or sleeping sites. These woodlands should have an adequate understory to protect them from predators and harsh weather. Turkeys also need open areas that provide food sources such as insects, seeds, and plants, as well as room to strut and display during breeding season. Between these two habitats are edge areas. These areas provide both cover and food, as well as function as safe spaces for turkeys to move between open fields and woodlands. What would be best for turkeys to nest and brood in these areas?
So good nesting habitat is you want to have cover at about 1.5 to 3 feet in height. That hen's gonna look for a little bit of canopy cover. So all of our native shrubs are a great example of that. Even sumac, which I know a lot of people don't like, in small amounts is great. She wants to get tucked up inside of that vegetation and be able to hide, but she doesn't want it so thick in what we call vertical stem density. So a lot of, trees coming up, once it gets to a certain point, if she can't get up and out to escape, that hinders her from flying. She can get caught, she can get eaten. If you're doing what we call timber stand improvement and leaving the tops of trees where they fall, she can tuck herself up underneath that. And even getting at the base of trees, she can tuck herself up against that, especially if she's got some native vegetation around her to really cover her up. What we like for her to do is be able to stick her head up and see over that vegetation so she can see danger coming, but she's able to tuck herself back down into that vegetation and hide. A lot of people like open woodlands because they say it's really easy to walk through. But what I like to do is either take a softball and throw it out into that vegetation, or even take a hen decoy and set it out. And if I can see it, a predator can see it. And that's no cover. And will a hen nest in it? Of course she will if that's all that's available, but she would prefer to nest in something where she's concealed. So this early successional vegetation is what we're really pushing for. Good brood rearing habitat's very similar to nesting, except that we're wanting, I call it umbrella cover. So our native warm season grasses, our native forbs, that's just a fancy word for wildflowers, that kind of creates this little umbrella canopy over top. But then underneath, all these native vegetations are clump forming. So we have all these open spaces in between with a lot of dirt. When those chicks hatch, they're this big. They cannot thermoregulate, so they can't regulate their own internal body temperature. They need to be able to get around to kind of, get from area to area. This umbrella cover provides a multi-level opportunity for them to get insects. They're getting about 23% of protein at that time, and they need all that for somatic growth. Having insects at the ground level, but then also up to about 3 feet where they can jump up and grab it, that's highly important. But if your vegetation's too dense, like let's say a overgrown fescue pasture, if it rains or even the morning dew, even if it's 80 degrees to us, for a newborn, newly hatched chick, that could be detrimental because they could actually get hypothermia and freeze to death. You also want a couple little shrubs because once they get to 2 weeks old, they're able to sustain flight. They can get into shrubs or low-lying branches and escape. It's those first 2 weeks that we really, really, really need to get them to. And having that kind of umbrella cover where they can kind of get in and out of cover and be able to get insects is very important for them. If a hen has somewhere to nest and hide, the probability of a predator locating her is significantly lower than, let's say, a hen in an open woodland setting with no cover around her. Having the proper habitat and having that cover available makes it more probable that a hen will be successful with her hatch and then also with her brood.
Now that we know what good nesting and brooding habitat looks like, how do we create it? That's the subject of our next video.